I was doing a study looking to describe how flu was transmitting in a major metropolitan area. We had already been collecting samples from people all over the city to look for new viruses. As soon as we started looking, we found it. We found it in a teenager who was up in the northern part of the Seattle region. None of us at the time had any idea how quickly we would find it and the repercussions of finding it. The CDC and FDA and everybody else at that point was very, very much concerned about a false positive. I think a lot of people in academics, not just our group, knew that it was here. I think what we had was that we already had the platform in place to find it.
When it was really, really crazy here, at the peak, I would walk in and it felt like the apocalypse. I've worked in West Africa during an Ebola outbreak. I've worked in East Africa during civil conflict. I've seen chaos and I've seen a lot of really sick people at once, but I never really expected to see that here in my own city and in my own hospital. During Ebola, the one thing that I never had to worry about on a daily basis was having enough personal protective equipment. And the result was that, to date, we have over 1,000 healthcare workers that have died of COVID.
There's a lot of really smart people that have platforms that are sharing information that's not either completely true or completely accurate. And I remember thinking, well, yeah, how would you know what's going on inside the doors of a hospital and how bad it is? We still have a long road ahead of us before we get this under control.
Back in early January, there weren't any other coronavirus trackers. If I wanted the most updated numbers, I'd have to go to these Chinese government websites. I thought it would be cool to, make something that would look, a lot more user-friendly. I guess like the first website I made, if I would even really call that a website, was kind of when I was 7 years old. I'm not a very good programmer myself. Everything that I know, you can figure out from watching a couple of YouTube videos, really. It wasn't like I could predict that it would be, hundreds of millions of visitors from, every single country on the entire planet.
The choir outbreak happened in Washington, and I immediately got in touch with the choir. It was obvious to me that the only way to explain this outbreak, in which one person infected 52, were aerosols. It was just obvious, and this was early April. We created a Google Doc with frequently asked questions about how to protect themselves from aerosol transmission. When you keep your distance, you reduce the chance of transmission because there are these aerosols that are floating like smoke. And if you're further from someone who's smoking, you're inhaling less smoke. And the most important things are free. Do things outdoors, open the windows, make sure your mask is well fit around your face and there are no gaps. And lower our voice. We know that when we talk, and especially if we shout, many more aerosols come out.
What my lab was doing was to develop tools to understand how the immune system responds to the virus. By March, we had brought this test to our clinical laboratory, and so that made it possible to be used in the clinic at Mount Sinai. And in addition to that, we also shared the setup of the test, so how to perform it with more than 250 laboratories worldwide. So we were the first laboratory to develop a test to measure these antibodies. We worked for very long hours and we are still doing that, but I think that's what you're supposed to do if you're a virologist and there's a pandemic.
I didn't quite know that I would be the actual first. It was only the night before I was going in that I read a breaking AP story. My appointment was at 8 a.m. and I'm like, oh gosh, that actually might be me. Mostly in the moment I was thinking about, I've had a flu shot before, I've had other vaccinations before. This is just another one of those, and everything's going to be fine. I'm feeling great. Everything feels perfectly normal. My life is just as normal as everybody else's right now, but I'm feeling good. The reason that I did this is I want to stay conscious of the privilege that I have in my life. I want to use it in a way to help others. And so this was a big way that I could do that. I don't have a lot of the same stressors that so many others have right now. And so that allows me to take a risk like this.